education on earth. Our anticipated demographic bulge, we have the window to turn it into demographic dividends instead of the much anticipated demographic disaster that will consume all of us. And education is the greatest leveler.
On promise to wage war against corruption without interference, Vice President Kashmir Shettima said it's been fulfilled, as the ongoing high-profile cases indicate a new era of accountability. He said the administration's revenue drive is on track to deliver results with the continued digitization of revenue collection in all government agencies. Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, who chaired the meeting, said continuity in governance is necessary, commending the Tinubu administration for adopting the 30-year infrastructure master plan.
But that level of continuity is needed. When I visited India as Minister of National Planning, I think it was in the about 2011, they were going through their 12th five-year development plan in a very consistent manner with implementation. And that's what accounts for the difference between India and Nigeria today. We have had this staccato, stop and go, a new administration comes, throws out everything that the previous administration has done and start all over again. So consistency with the long term.
He advocated for planning and implementation of government agenda, setting example with the performance-based management system to checkmate saboteurs. In Abuja, Abraman Jibrila, NTA News.
To enhance depositors' protection and stability of the financial system, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, has increased the maximum deposit insurance coverage levels for licensed deposit-taking institutions. Managing Director of the corporation, Bello Hassan, made this known at a briefing in Abuja. Musa Abubakar reports.
Protecting depositors and contributing to financial system stability is the major objective for the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC. It is this core mandate that informed the move to increase the maximum deposit insurance coverage levels from 500,000 to 5 million naira for deposit money banks, to 2 million naira for microfinance banks, from 500,000 to 2 million naira for primary mortgage banks and payment service banks, as well as 5 million naira for subscribers of mobile money operators. The move, the MD says, will provide full coverage of more than 99% of the total depositors compared with the current cover.
There are isolated cases of failure. I can assure you that with the current funding we have, we are in a better position to meet those obligations. And beyond that, like I mentioned, there are also other additional sources of funding that have been provided in the Act which we can leverage on if there is the need to do that. But based on the assessment and the stress test that we have conducted, we believe that we have the capacity to meet those obligations. And I think that's what informed the decision by the Interim Management Committee.
The revised deposit insurance coverage is said will balance the NDIC's goal of protection and financial system stability with incentive for depositors to practice market discipline, as well as prevent banks from unnecessary risk-taking. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Away in Rivers State, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has condemned the reckless attitude of drivers whose actions pose a threat to the lives of other road users. He made the observation when he visited the site of the LMA tanker explosion in Rivers State. Miriam Vincent Okol has details.
On this road, lives were lost, properties were lost. It was quite a very unfortunate incident.
This necessitated the visit of the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, to the petrochemical junction of the East-West Road, where the fire incident occurred. Although the area has been cleared of the wreckage from the devastating petrol tanker explosion, its impact has left unpleasant pills in the mouth of families of those who lost their lives. Works Dave Umahi, who condoled with victims, said the ministry has been working hard to ensure the completion of reconstruction of the East-West Road, which has suffered neglect over the years. He notes that due to the strategic nature of the road, quality is of the essence.
Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he came on board, he saw how terrible this road was, and he directed that work should be started, not as usual, but that the road should be redesigned. The 15-kilometer road dualized, 6 lanes, is about the heaviest trafficked road in the country. And so, because the soil is bad, we are digging about 1 meter. We are filling with lumps about ½ meter. We're filling with sharp sand about ½ meter. We are filling with stone base, 8 inches. We are putting 4 inches, another stone base mixed with 5% cement. And then we are now putting, 8 inches reinforced concrete pavement on top of it. The idea of Mr. President is that this should last a minimum of 100 years.
He condemned the reckless attitude of the drivers responsible for the explosion, noting that the road safety should now engage in checking the mental health of drivers. And Vincent Toko, NTA News.
The federal government says it is liaising with relevant agencies and stakeholders to come up with modalities to compensate victims of last Saturday's gas explosion in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Eberibe Ekbo, said this when he visited Ogun State to commiserate with the government and people over the incident. Yemi Dalemo has details.
The Minister of State for Petroleum, Gas, Ekperipe Ekbo, who was in Ogun State to sympathize with government and people over the Itaoshin gas explosion, said the incident is a wake-up call to stakeholders in the compressed natural gas subsector to maintain standard through effective regulations, prevent future reoccurrence. The minister, who commended the state government for the prompt response to the emergency, expressed hopes that the incident does not pose setback to NG-powered vehicles.
We've been to the site, we've seen the cylinders, we've gone to the company, attending to the event of that very day to calm the nerves.
Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun appreciated the federal government for its concern and intervention.
We're now going to put in place a policy to ensure that we enforce the roadworthiness of those trucks, and at least that is removed from the equation, and then begin to look at issues around standards.
He were in an explosion. While the driver of the truck was on the run, his assistant lost his life in the incident. Many people were injured, 4 vehicles were razed, and several shops also affected. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
The renewed Hope Initiative is set to improve lives of families across states of the Federation. This was stated by the Senior Special Assistant on Media to Nigeria's First Lady, Busola Kukoi, while discussing the initiative on Good Morning Nigeria. Ekimini Williams reports.
The renewed Hope Initiative by Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, is already making impact across states of the Federation with 5 focal areas, namely education, agriculture, health, social investment, and economic empowerment. Speaking on the details of this initiative, Media Aide to the First Lady, Bukola Kukoyi, highlighted some of the programs under the initiative, such as the One Nigeria Unity Fabric, Every Home a Garden, Alternative High School for Girls, and many other programs. She noted that the initiatives not only target women, but the well-being of families as a whole.
Health, social investment, and economic empowerment. Now, for the First Lady of the Federal Republic, she believes that if these 5 areas are adequately covered, and there are interventions in those areas, then we can talk about a better life for the family. And that's why she's being very vigorous about it. Now, if you look at the structure of the Renewed Hope Initiative, it is a grassroots-oriented structure. It goes from the top right to the bases. Now, we have the national chairman of that initiative, who is the First Lady as expected, the Vice Chairman, the wife of the Vice President as expected. Now, all the state governors, the governors' wives for each state will be coordinating at the state level. They would also have local government coordinators who will be reaching out to the grassroots.
Wiyemi Aribo, DG Women Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, described the initiative as laudable and suggested other ways the program can be scaled up and made more efficient, including partnership with relevant agencies, provision of communal lands to women in the grassroots to cultivate, and training in technology for women entrepreneurs.
Probably started her business out of passion, right? Which is where a lot of female entrepreneurs are. You start a business from something that you do at home, from a skill that you've picked up, not necessarily that you understand the business side of things. So where capacity building comes in is where, that's the intersection with economic empowerment. How do you, teach these women to use the skills that they have to actually become economically empowered, to begin to make money for not just themselves, but for their communities, for themselves, for their families. So I think for me, just hearing that there's a capacity building part of it, and we do know that there's a huge digital divide for women, especially in Nigeria. Not a lot of women are online. I will take there were a lot of reports from the COVID-19 that affected women. So women entrepreneurs were the ones that were adversely affected the most, because not a lot of them had their businesses online. So when everything is shut down, you can't go to your store, there's nowhere for you to sell.
The way you handle issues, the way you relate with people, allows you to run the office effectively. Like he has mentioned, people, volunteer to come to us, you understand, to support us based on what we have done. The records are there. It is glaring for people to see. And that is why we are receiving support from right, left, and center.
Nigerians were also advised to cooperate with government of the day towards realizing its goals of improving lives and ensuring national development. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
This is the news desk at 6 on NTA NEWS24. More reports when we return. Welcome back. To enable rural women commence mass production of some staple food and clothing, the first batch of industrial empowerment equipment have been distributed to some states across the Federation. Mamso Damian Dati reports.
In Anambra State, we gave them 12 Gari processing machine, 12 cassava processing machine. We gave Kanu rice milling machine 5. It will have the boiler, it will have the stoner, and it will probably have the chaffer. We gave sewing industrial machine.
The Ministry of Women Affairs wheeling out types of equipment and quantity distributed so far.
So that's why we are piloting with these ones we're able to afford. So the people that got the fish equally got the 2 fish grilling machines. We only have a bank giving out free POS to these women.
Selected across the 6 geopolitical zones.
We are talking about 15 states supplied. Some of them, about 2-3 communities are going to get something. First supply to the commissioners of women affairs is from the commission. that will now start taking to the communities. Introduce the portal where women will on board. When you are on board and you're part of this portal, we equally get you to mention what you love to do, and we cluster you people according to your villages, the town where you are. We cluster you people in cooperatives.
Promises made, promises fulfilled, all in the bid to ensure that Nigerian women are economically empowered and self-reliant. In Abuja, Momso Damien Bati, NTA News.
And in a bid to mitigate the challenges posed by conjunction of correctional facilities, the Chief Judge of Ogun State, Justice Musumola Dikpeolu, has granted pardon to 49 inmates in Ogun State correctional centers. Leko Abonde reports that the freed inmates were advised to turn a new leaf and be better citizens.
The prison visit and jail delivery exercise is in line with efforts to decongest correctional facilities across the state in order to mitigate epidemic among the inmates. The Chief Justice Mosumola Dikpeolu, after looking into cases of different inmates based on recommendations from the Committee on Public Prosecution, granted freedom to 15 of the inmates at Ibarra Correctional Center. The Chief Judge had earlier visited the Ilaro and Oba Correctional Centers, where she granted amnesty to 3 and 31 inmates respectively, and charged the Committee on Public Prosecution to look into the issue of one inmate, Sheyi Adebayo, who needs medical attention, having suffered from depression, and urged government to build more structures and make necessary provisions for the inmates to live in good health while serving their jail time.
I'm actually pleading that the correctional centers should be expanded. The correctional centers are highly congested. They live under very deplorable conditions. They are cramped in the rooms, and it's not good for their health.
Appreciating the CJ and her team, the Deputy Controller of Corrections, Ayo Okpadeji, encouraged parents to be alive to their responsibilities to reduce crime in the society.
We parents, we have a lot to do, because all the crime that have been committed this time around are from underage.
In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
Part of the strategy of the federal government is to develop and strengthen partnerships among ministries in order to promote national integration. At an engagement, the Ministries of Information and National Orientation and that of Sports Development have agreed to work together to revive the glory of sports as an avenue for national development. Salihu Kwanara reports.
Sports remain strategic and a unifier among Nigerians. This engagement is to harness the power of sports and promote strategies on how to inculcate and sustain its spirit among the people for national unity and cohesion.
Sports can be seen, they can wait. And these sports cannot wait in this country. We need it not just for the economic development of this country, but for the unity, for the togetherness, for the sense of patriotism that all of us need to have for our country. Sports can be used as a vehicle of returning this country to where the founding fathers left it for us.
The country's significant national sporting activities are avenues to showcase the spirit of brotherhood.
This year in particular, we have the National Sports Festival that is coming up in Ogun State later in the year. We have this year the National Youth Games that will be taking place in Asaba. We have this year the National Para Games that we are still looking for a state that can play host. And we think, for example, that without the coverage of those sports and games, we are not able to encourage mass participation.
There is a consensus among the two ministers that sports will be given the needed attention as a driver towards national rebirth. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Chairman, National Population Commission Nasir Isakwara has advocated for more investments in education, especially that of the girl child, which will ultimately guarantee women's fundamental human rights. At a meeting of the United Nations General Assembly on International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD, in New York, Nasir Isakwara also called on United Nations Population Fund and other UN organs to assist Africa in bridging gender inequality gap while striving to implement the vision articulated in the ICPD Program of Action and the 2030 Agenda. Oluseyi Adagbo has details.
It is the 38th anniversary of the International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD, which seeks to measure progress made since 1994 and identify gaps in achieving sustainable development goals. During the 57th session of the Commission on Population and Development, participants assessed the status of the Program of Action of ICPD and its contribution to the 2030 Agenda for SDGs. Chairman, National Population Commission, Nasir Isakwara, while presenting Nigeria's statement, reiterates the country's commitment to a more inclusive progress to implementing the ICPD roadmap.
It is imperative to alleviate poverty, suffering, assuring stronger health systems, ensuring universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, and promoting gender equality, women's empowerment, and the need for adequate financial resources to achieve sustainable development, among other goals.
The MPC boss is unequivocal that Nigeria will combat harmful practices that may impede these goals. Oluseyi Adagbo, NTA News.
And that concludes the news desk at 6 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Mina Dials.